The rain had been falling since dawn, a thin mist clinging to the glass windows of downtown Manhattan, softening the edges of the steel towers that pierced the sky. Inside the top floor of one of those towers, a polished office gleamed with modern luxury, a floor-to-ceiling windows, Italian leather furniture, and the kind of silence only money could buy. At the far end of the conference table sat Victoria Langston, the CEO of Langston Co., a woman whose name carried weight in boardrooms across America. Her reputation was built on sharp instincts, bold risks, and a ruthlessness that left no room for weakness. She was reviewing copyright copyright S for a newly opened executive assistant position. The pile was thick, yet nothing impressed her. Some candidates had Ivy League credentials, others boasted years in Fortune 500 companies, but they all seemed a broken bar predictable. She thrived on talent, but also on stories, the kind of stories that promised someone could weather storms as well as they could manage schedules. Then her eyes fell on one copyright copyright that made her laugh out loud. Daniel Carter, she read, her perfectly manicured finger tracing the words. The paper was wrinkled, as though it had been folded and carried in a pocket too many times. His work experience listed jobs like warehouse loader, night shift janitor, and delivery driver. No prestigious companies, no dazzling achievements, just survival stacked upon survival. His cover letter was handwritten. Who even did that anymore? Victoria chuckled, shaking her head. This man thinks he can work here at Langston Co., she murmured, the words rolling with both amusement and disbelief. Her assistant, a young woman named Claire, leaned closer. Should I just discard it, Mom? Victoria smirked. No, let's call him in. I want to see the face behind the audacity. It'll be broken bar entertaining. That was how Daniel Carter found himself walking into the gleaming marble lobby of Langston Company on a rainy Thursday morning, wearing his only suit. It wasn't really a suit, more like a thrift store jacket paired with pants that didn't perfectly match. His shoes were scuffed, his tie slightly off-center, but he carried himself with a quiet dignity that couldn't be borrowed or bought. Beside him was his daughter, Emma. She was 6 years old, with tangled chestnut hair and wide brown eyes that carried both innocence and wisdom. Daniel hadn't meant to bring her. In fact, it broke every unspoken rule of professionalism. But the babysitter had cancelled last minute, and he couldn't afford to reschedule the interview. He'd whispered apologies to Emma as they rode the subway, promising it would be quick. She, in turn, promised she would sit quietly with her coloring book. When they entered the waiting area, Emma's sneakers were soaked from puddles. Daniel sighed and helped her slip them off, setting them carefully under the chair. She curled her feet beneath her, barefoot and small, clutching her coloring book like a treasure. The receptionist raised an eyebrow, but Daniel ignored the judgment. His eyes were on the elevator that would carry him to a woman he hoped would see beyond the paper copyright copyright and into the man who had fought for every breath of stability his daughter had. Inside the 40th floor office, Victoria was already prepared to dismiss him. When Daniel entered, offering a polite handshake, she glanced him up and down with that familiar smirk. Mr. Carter, she said smoothly, her tone the same one she used when rejecting million-dollar proposals. I'll be honest. I looked at your copyright copyright and wondered if this was a mistake. You have no corporate experience, no advanced degree. Tell me, why do you think you belong here? Daniel sat, folding his hands. His voice was steady, though his heart pounded. Because I know what hard work is. I know what it means to solve problems under pressure. I know how to manage people's tempers at 2 in the morning when they're exhausted and hungry. And I know that responsibility isn't just about titles, it's about showing up, no matter how tired you are. Victoria tilted her head, unimpressed. That's noble, Mr. Carter. But Langston Company isn't a warehouse. We deal with clients worth billions. I need someone who can handle the pressure of this world. It was then that a soft sound broke the tension. Emma had slipped into the office unnoticed, barefoot, clutching her coloring book. Her cheeks were flushed with shyness, but her eyes scanned the towering woman behind the desk. "Daddy?" she whispered, stepping forward. Victoria blinked, caught off guard. She wasn't used to children in her Résumé. Her world was built on boardrooms, not bedtime stories. Emma walked closer, her little toes curling against the polished wood floor. She looked up at Victoria, then at her father. "Did you tell her how you make pancakes shaped like hearts? Or how you fix my shoes when they break? Or how you stay awake when I'm sick and never leave me alone?" Daniel froze, mortified. Emma. But the girl wasn't finished. She tilted her head at Victoria, as if assessing whether the CEO deserved to know the truth. "My daddy is the best daddy in the world. He always says people are more important than money. Isn't that what a good helper is supposed to do?" The room fell silent. Victoria, who had built her empire on steel and sharpness, felt something shift in her chest. Those words are innocent, unpleasant, cut deeper than any corporate pitch ever had. For the first time in years, she was speechless. Daniel reached for his daughter, pulling her gently back, his face red with embarrassment. "I'm so sorry, Miss Langston." She wasn't supposed to. But Victoria raised a hand, stopping him. Her gaze lingered on the barefoot little girl, her curls wild, her eyes bright with unshakable belief in her father. Something about that sight cracked open a memory she had long buried. Her own father, years ago, working 2 jobs just to keep food on the table. She remembered walking into his workplace once, barefoot because her shoes had holes, and how he had stood taller than the world when introducing her to his boss. Her voice softened, almost imperceptibly. "Emma, is it? Do you like it here?" Emma nodded seriously. "It's very shiny, but it needs more colors." She lifted her coloring book, offering it as though it could solve the problem. Victoria smiled, an uncharacteristic, genuine smile that startled even her assistant. She turned back to Daniel, studying him anew. Not as a copyright, copyright, not as a joke, but as a man who carried resilience like armor and love like a torch. That was the moment everything began to change.